Good morning, I'm Damien from Champion Fire Protection. Today we're in the North Mechanical Room and we have a wet system which is below the ceilings and exposed pipe that you can see in the mechanical rooms and down the corridors and classrooms. Then for the attic we have a dry system. This is typical of the south mechanical room. So everything you see down here is identical down at the other end. So basically what we have here is a wet system. Right now the control valves are both shut off due to the fact that the fire alarm panel has not been finished and it's not a monitored system. So per code, per state law, we can't leave systems on until they're monitored, if that makes sense. So, but basically on a wet system, it's pretty much self-efficient. I mean, if you have a fire, the head's going to go off, it's going to put the fire out. There's steps on each riser to shut a system down after a fire, to drain it down. Step one, close control valve labeled A, and we have a control valve that says wet labeled A. So you turn that clockwise till it's off, like it is right now. Step two would be open main drain B. So here's main drain B, wet. Open this up. It goes down the outside of the building. So it all drains outside. Same as the dry. Step three, open inspector's test C, which is right here, inspector's test wet C. And that also is piped outside. Water gauge is right here. Control valve here. Fire department connection comes in. There are 3 different fire department connections on this facility. There's one for the north mechanical room, there's one for the south mechanical room, and right above the FD connection on the outside of the facility here, we have a label engraved. It'll say north mechanical section of the building. Also for the pump house, it'll say it on that one too. So that pretty much covers the wet system. The dry system, again, it's labeled dry attic, so you know everything is up in the attic space. 24-hour emergency service, 218-259-2135, 7 days a week, 24-hour service. We do come in once a year, properly maintain the systems, flush, trip, inspect, make sure all the gauges, valves, everything has been checked on both systems already and certified and hydro tested. Again, we have 3 steps to shut a system down after a fire, or say you had vandalism or one of the kids broke a head off or something. Step 1, close control valve A. Step 2, open main drain B. You'll notice that everything says dry, main drain B. The inspector's test is straight down the corridor above the ceiling in the classroom, just to the south of us, on the east side here. So that pretty much covers all of the wet, covers the dry. And then we have an air compressor here. You can check the oil in it. There's an oil gauge, and right down below, there, for condensation, there's a little bleeder valve, you know, keep it dry. It's got a line coming up to an air maintenance device. This control valve here is normally closed. These 2 are open, and the air goes down through restricted orifice through a regulator, maintain air pressure in the system. So basically this line here comes in from the pump house. The fire pump, the new fire pump, loops around the new facility and the existing facilities, and there's lead-ins. This is the lead-in on the north end. There's an identical one on the south end, and there's a shut-off from the fire line outside the building, a PIV with a shut-off valve. Okay, one other thing that Ben Bowstring brought up, which is a very good point, is before you shut any control valves off or work on any sprinkler systems, there's a fire alarm panel in the north mechanical room right here. And Ben Bowstring should be notified first. He's a maintenance superintendent here, in charge of all the school district. And he's very familiar with fire protection because everything here is monitored. So if you go and turn valves off or open something or whatever, you're going to trigger a fire alarm panel, which is going to put the system into alarm, and Ben could help you with silencing the panel, calling it in, take it offline. One other thing is on control valves and air maintenance devices, low air switch, alarm switch, valves, these are all factory set. There's no reason to start turning or opening or readjusting things. One of the things on the air compressor, this is actually where you fill your oil here. If you need to add oil for some reason, if you want to change oil, there's a plug here on the bottom, right here. You know, you can shut the air compressor off, drain the oil, change oil. We do that on inspection once a year. It's air compressor oil, I believe it's a 20 weight oil. This is your air filter. This is your sight glass, so you can tell where your oil's at. You don't have to put dipstick in or pull it out or anything. Right down below here, there's a little petcock to drain any moisture off your air compressor. You know, after a while they get water in them just from pulling air in from a moisture from a trap, like a floor drain like that. Oh, there's a labeling of all the different types of sprinkler heads, a spare head cabinet box with wrenches and spare heads inside the box for you for throughout the facility. And everything in here that you're looking at right now is identical to your south mechanical room. You've got air compressor, a riser coming in from the underground, you have a dry system, you have a wet system. One thing to remember is all the drains are piped to the outside of the building, so you don't have to worry about water or anything like that. In case of heat loss in a facility, one of the concerns they have is on a wet system, freezing of the pipe. The care and maintenance is by the owner. We've had all the systems checked and tagged and make sure all the different flow switches and drains and tamper switches and PIV switches and fire pump running and fire pump loss all comes into your panel. All your PIVs have been checked. So if somebody goes to shut one, it'll automatically trigger the panel, which will call in, and I'm sure Ben Bowstring is on that list of people that are notified immediately. So as far as fire protection, they're fully automatic sprinkler systems. Once you hear the alarms and sirens go off, you know, people just leave the building. It's fully automatic. It's pretty much self-efficient. In the fire alarm panel itself, if someone shuts a control valve off on the wet system, it'll say high school, tamper, wet system, mechanical room 119. And that would be the south mechanical. The north mechanical, if someone shuts one of the control valves off here, that feeds the wet system, or here, which feeds the dry system, it'll also pick it up and it'll tell you the high school, which is, this is a tamper switch. So if somebody turns that valve more than a turn and a half, what it does is it breaks the contacts, sends a signal to the panel, immediately puts the panel into alarm, which notifies the school. So right now, again, all IMA control valves are off. They're looking for some phone lines to monitor these systems. So once that gets hooked up, the phone lines get hooked up to that panel. Right now you'll see a yellow light in your panel, and it's showing that these control valves are shut off in 1119 and 158. So 158 would be your north, 119 is your south. And then they also show high school fire pump trouble. We have control valves in the pump house, so it's identifying each area. So this panel will pick up all your different devices. If you have a flow switch go off on your wet system in the north mechanical, it's going to say high school north mechanical. If you have a alarm go off on your dry system, it's going to say North High School Mechanical. If you have something go off, a flow switch go off in the pump house, it's going to refer us to the high school pump house. Once we get done here, there'll be one fire pump that feeds all the different facilities here. So the new fire pump and the new fire pump house will take on the new high school, the existing school, the gymnasium, and the bus garage, and Ben's maintenance shop. So, and we have emergency numbers on each riser on all our systems, 24-hour service. We're real close by, any time of the day, any time of the night. Give me a call, we'll be on our way. And we can walk you right through the different steps of what to do over the phone. So it's not, you don't have to wait until we get here. With smartphones and stuff, you can take a picture of the riser. I can put your hand right on the control valve. Here's step one, right here, control valve. What do we want to do if we got water running? Shut it off. What else do we want to do? Drain it. The best thing to do is get the water down and out of the building. So all these drains are set up to get out of the building. So you, step one, close the control valve A. Step two, open main drain B. Step three, open inspector test C on this wet system. Dry system. Got a problem in the attic. Somebody's up there crawling around, pulling wires, broke a line, trap pipe, whatever, froze something up on us. Shut it off. Open the drain, open the inspector's test drain, call immediately. This here is your North Mechanical Wing Fire Department connection. These are breakaway caps that you can take off. The fire department will come here and they'll unscrew these and they'll hook their fire truck up to them and pump into your building through your FD connection. There's one on each side. Same as the south end, it'll be identical. The only thing different is on the south end, it'll actually say south end. And on the pump house next to us, it'll say pump house entire campus. This 2-inch right here is your main drain. Everything's piped outside. So when you shut the systems off on control valve A and you open up main drain B, it's all piped to the outside of the building. So you don't have to worry about anything. This is a post indicator valve identified as a PIV, and what this is for is the lead in from the underground from the fire pump to the north end. So at any time that you'd ever want to shut that line off and shut both the systems off, unlock the lock, take the handle, put it on top, turn it to the right. It'll say open and closed right here on the side of the chamber. I'll let you know. Again, you have to identify this, get a hold of Ben Bowstring before you do any work on any of the sprinkler systems, because this is a tampered valve. If anybody shuts this valve, this tamper switch will go into alarm back to their panel immediately. And each one of these valves are identified in that panel, so it's going to tell you exactly that they shut this one off.
How many valves are there and where are the locations?
There's 3 of these isolation valves. There's one here from the underground to the North Mechanical. There's another one coming into the South Mechanical room. And then just to the north of us here, there's one between the water tank and the fire pump house. So there's only 3. And once again, during the annual inspection, what we do is we do a maintenance on these. We'd actually turn the valves, check the tampers, make sure it's turning free, dirt didn't cave into the post, and that it does come back into that panel properly. So that we know that when somebody does work on this valve and they shut it, that tamper switch picks up. Very important, because without the tamper switch, this valve could be shut or more than halfway shut, and then we wouldn't get the water supply into the facility that we need. So it's always important to check these things once a year and certify and test them, and that's the reason for it, is to make sure this valve is completely open and the sight glass is working, the controls are working, the handle's here in case of emergency. That'll do it. Okay, here we have another PIV. This is the one between the fire pump and the underground system. So if we want to isolate the pump house itself, this is the control that isolates everything coming in from the fire pump out to the underground. So again, if before you do any maintenance work or anything like that, you have to get a hold of Ben Bowstring with maintenance. Take the control valve off, put the wrench on top, turn it clockwise until it's completely tight, shut off. Make sure when you're done that the wrenches always go back on, and there's a breakaway lock that I put on here. Again, this tamper is monitored, so if this valve gets shut off, it picks it up in the panel, identified which one it is. 1.5 turns, this one triggers. They're all set up for about 1.5 turns. It automatically goes into your panel. Same thing with this one. This is a shut off between the tank and the pump house. So if you shut this valve, again, you just lift the handle up, put the wrench on the top, turn it to the right. As soon as it gets turned, the panel's going to pick it up. But again, remember, anytime you work on any sprinkler, you have to get a hold of Ben. That's the most important thing, because otherwise, if you turn the valve, it's going to call into the monitoring company. They're going to have the fire department on the way. What we're working on now, we're in the north fire pump house, the new fire pump. And basically what we have here, we have an 8-inch underground coming in here, right over here, and it comes up and it comes into your system, which feeds the entire facility. So what that does, it comes across here, and right now we're in the works of, they're doing some work on the tank out there, so we have packing on our fire pump that's dripping over, that we don't have any pressure on the suction side. So the water is going to come into the fire pump, turn, go up, go right over, head here, and down into your systems. The pump house itself has its own sprinkler system, which comes off the riser right here. Right here is the underground after the fire pump that goes down to the facility, to all the underground, to all the buildings. The pump house itself has its own system. Right off the get-go here is fire pump house, lead valve open, control valve A. So this valve will be always open. The second one up is tagged drain. Okay, that's just piped to the outside. The system comes up, there's a flow switch, a gauge which shows the pressure on the system always. It goes up to the sprinkler system in the pump house. So there's 3 steps to the sprinkler system. There's 1A, which you turn the control valve off after, if you have a head go off or something to a fire or freeze up, whatever, loss of heat. Step 2 would be open main drain B. Step 3 would be the inspector's test again, which would be labeled C. So this is normally closed. So if you want to drain the water out, open it up. On the sticker again, we have 24-hour service, 218-259-2135. I'm on call 7 days a week. Feel free to call, we're close by. A little bit more on the fire pump here. This is actually a flow meter. This is during an annual test, so this will be serviced. These 2 control valves here will be normally closed. These here, and it says right on here, normally closed. What these 2 are for is just to bypass over the fire pump and running water. Instead of pushing it out through a test header, we can actually churn the same water out of the tank and roll it through the pump to complete our annual test for fire protection on the pump. This is a small pump. This is called a jockey pump. The jockey pump has its own controller here. Again, all these switches and devices will be left in an on position. They don't need to be turned on or off during a fire. They're automatic. So a drop of pressure, jockey pump will kick on, keep your system up to pressure. Once it can't keep up to that desired pressure, there's sensing lines tied to the fire pump, that'll kick on. Anytime that the fire pump is running, the panel picks it up. Anytime somebody shuts the power off on the disconnects on the 2 controllers on the east wall here, the panel will pick it up. If we have phase reversal, the panel will pick it up. If we have temperature loss, the panel will pick it up. Anytime that there's AC power loss, the panel on the east wall is a dual disconnect panel, which means it's tied to the new generator right outside the door here. So in the event of a power loss and you have a fire issue, the diesel generator is tied together and it will kick on. And that's been certified and tested also. On the back side of the pump house, there's a test header, which we call a cow's bag. And that's normally closed, and the signs are on here also. Test header, normally closed. So any of the signs that we have on any of the fire protection feeding any of the sprinkler systems are all labeled. It's easily to be identified, so you don't have to say, hey, what do I do during a fire? All you have to do during a fire is get out of the building. It's fully automatic. It's not made to have you come in the building and turn a valve off, turn a valve on. Just get outside the building. After the fire and it's put out, that's when you can go through the steps. Shut control valve A, open main drain B, open inspector's test C, call the number, and we're on our way to help you. Right now, this is a dual disconnect controller for it feeds the fire pump. And what we have here is you have an AC power side and you have a DC power side. The DC side is if you lose your main power coming into your facility on your power, it's got an emergency backup diesel generator. It doesn't mean that when you lose power that the fire pump's going to run. The diesel generator will kick on during a power outage. The only time that it'll actually start the fire pump is a loss of pressure. All your pumps are set up on pressure. So once the pressure drops in the system, then your diesel, if you have a power outage, will actually turn on your fire pump. So basically, these two switches are off because the systems aren't monitored yet. Normally these two levers will be up. So if you go to shut any of this stuff off again, you have to contact Ben Bowstring with the school district to make sure that you're doing any work on any of the fire protection. But in order to shut this off so you don't start your diesel generator once they're on, you have to shut off your diesel side first and then your AC. If you shut your AC off first, it's automatically going to represent power failure, which is going to kick that diesel generator on. So again, this cabinet, here's a start, a stop, emergency stop, and a test. You can hit this button to test your pump. It'll automatically run for 10 minutes and shut itself right back off. Anytime that you're using this fire protection equipment, just please keep in mind that it's fully automatic. So if you hit a start button accidentally and you say, geez, what can I do? It's set up on timer. They can come over here, hit the red button, hit stop. The pressure's up, the system will just maintain itself and shut right back off. Any questions? There's stickers on everything. Call, 24-hour service. You know, if you have just a question, hey, what about if I did this or did that? Call up, ask first, you know, but make sure you contact local authority having jurisdiction on this stuff before you do any work on it. This cabinet has got a visual sight glass. It tells you your pressure, your RPMs, what the pump is doing. It tells you phase reversal. It tells you your amperage, your voltage. It gives, this cabinet's tied to a heat temp back to your panel. If the pump is running, the panel will pick it up, the fire alarm panel will pick it up. If somebody shuts the power off feeding the controllers, the fire alarm panel will pick that up, power loss to your fire pump. If you have phase reversal, that pump will run in reverse. It just won't build any pressure. And what they mean by phase reversal, if a tree goes down on your power line and rips your cables out of your wall, the power company comes back out and puts your leads back in. If they mix them up, the pump will still run, but the panel will pick it up immediately and say phase reversal. At that time, the power company switch the leads, check it out, make sure the rotation's correct on the fire pump, you're good to go. So they're trying to take everything away from worry, so it's trouble-free. And that's why you have a dual disconnect cabinet. The reason for the diesel backup is because of the location of the facility and the distance between here and the local fire department. If they were closer to the facility, you wouldn't need a diesel backup. Because the fire department, if they could respond in a timely fashion. Right here, it's volunteer fire department, and you know, it's based on who's available. So to take that factor away, what they've got, because of not just this new facility, the existing school, the existing bus garage, the existing shop, the existing gymnasium, all that is run off of this fire pump. This is set up to run normally on AC power, which is from your power company. And both of these levers will be up. Now, if you shut your AC power off, it's going to be like the power company turn your power off. Your diesel generator will kick on immediately. So if you want to shut these cabinets off, do any maintenance work, any wiring, anything like that, you have to shut the DC power, the generator off first, and then your AC power. Because your AC switch is monitored. These two are watching each other. If you shut one off before the other one, the generator will kick on. And that's why we've got first off, first on.
Then we can ignore that.
But this is just our main power coming in for our AC there.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and just introduce this.
Main disconnect for fire pump controllers. This cabinet's always live, the lever's up, locked in, locked on. So at any time, working on this controller, this would have to be unlocked, shut the power off, and tag it out to make sure before working in a high voltage cabinet. You got to get a hold of the property authority like Ben Bowstring, come in and unlock this for you, put a lockout, tag out on it before you do any work on the inside of this cabinet. Because this is the main disconnect for the fire pump controller. Our fire pump here is electric fire pump. The water comes in, boosts the pressure up. There's 3 hoses on the backside leading to the floor drain. We've got 2 for packing that go down into the floor drain that want to bleed all the time. So when the fire pump's running, it uses its own water to keep the shaft cool. The other thing, it has a relief line that's piped to the floor drain. So when the fire pump is running, it dumps pressure off into there so it doesn't heat up the casing of the fire pump here. This is just an air relief. This is your suction side of your fire pump gauge. This is the discharge. None of these systems show pressure right now because the system, it's all been certified and tested and approved. They're doing some work on the existing tank. They drain the tank for a brace, and then, so that's why we have a little bit of water from the packing on the floor here, but normally it's all dry. It's pretty much self-contained unit. Okay?
Maintenance?
Annual maintenance is we do the pump test, and what we'll be looking for, we'll be doing a churn test, 100% and 150%. We'll be checking the packing, greasing the certs. There's a grease cert for the motor. We'll make sure the pump's in line. We'll be doing pressure checks. We'll be doing start stops on the controllers. We'll be making sure that the diesel generator kicks in. We'll be shutting the AC power off, kicking the diesel generator on. We'll be checking the level of the water in the tank. We'll be checking the fuel and stuff in the diesel to make sure that's maintained and full at all times. And again, we'll be looking for start stops, power loss, phase reversal, temperature probe, horn and lights, and jockey pump. Well, the sensing lines will be cleaned out. There's 1/2-inch ball valves below, so we'll flush the lines. The lines are all brass and copper, so that nothing corrodes, builds up. The cabinets themselves are preset pressures. There's no reason to adjust any pressures. The fire pump controller has got a digital readout on the front door, right in the front right there. that will show you all the different functions of your fire pump.
Okay, when you're ready.
This is a test header for testing the fire pump annually once a year. What we'll do is we'll hook hoses on here and we'll test the pump at churn at 50%, at 100%, at 150% of its capacity. 1500 GPM fire pumps will be pushing up to 150% at 100%. These are our throttling valves, what will open and close, and we'll have 2.5-inch fire hoses going out to hose monsters, which will have pitos in them for testing. The tank behind you is our water reservoir. This line here is actually our fill line for filling our tank. The tank is 240,000 gallons. We've got it set up so in 8 hours we can refill the tank off the existing fire pump and the 2 wells in a 35,000 gallon tank. This line here will also be used as a circulating line to circulate the water during cold weather. We're in the process right now. There's heat tape that's going on, covering of the pipe, and then this gets covered with a wrap, a foil wrap. This is going to have an R value of 20 on the outside and coated. These are actually the probes here and the heat tapes that'll be tied back. These lines, conduit lines that are going up here, are actually for the heater and the high-low level alarm. Basically the heat pumps, circulating pumps, and heat exchangers will be inside the fire pump house. So right now they're in the process of working on this and finishing this up. This should be done within the next couple of weeks. Okay. Now we're at the south mechanical room, fire department connection, south wing. Again, this is the fire department connection, main drain. Okay, now we're at the south mechanical room, and this is the lead-in coming in from the underground, which straight outside the door you see a red cap flush with the concrete. that is your shut off to shut this underground feed in off. On this end, we have the same exact thing again. We have a dry system. Step 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C. Closed control valve A, open main drain B, open inspector's test. On this dry system, because the facility goes up and down, we have a low point drain, which is just inside the main entrance door, which after a trip on a dry, due to loss of heat, loss of power, whatever, you have to make sure you shut the control valve off, thoroughly drain the system, and open the inspector's test, which is just inside the west entrance door of the main facility. And there's 2 valves on the right-hand side, and we'll take Ben up there and make sure we open the doors and show them to you. Very important to drain all the water. The care and maintenance is by the owner. So basically the underground comes up, we have a header, we have a dry system which takes care of the attic. It continues on, we have a wet system. Again, these 2 control valves are shut off. These are normally in the vertical position. Right now, the fire alarm panel is picking them up that these 2 control valves on the south mechanical are shut off. The systems are charged and everything. Once this is open, let's say you had a issue with a sprinkler head or anything like that, go right back to the steps. Close control valve A, open main drain B, open inspector's test C. And we've got them all signed, and everything's wet, everything's dry. The piece down below is our FD connection that goes outside. We just went through that, and it's labeled south wing. The same type of air compressor as we have on the north end. The same setup, the sight glass, the air tank drain, the fill here, regulator, air maintenance device coming up. These 2 valves will be normally open. Here's our regulator. The bypass will be normally shut. We have air and everything on the system. Everything's been hydro tested, air tested, checked, excursions, fire caulked, whatnot. I would like to take and show you where the drain is. C is on this system. The one over on the other end drains right back. This one here, because of this facility that goes up and goes back down on the new end over here, we have a trap location, so we have a drum drip right inside that front entrance door, and an inspector's test on the canopy. So we can cut from here and possibly go over there. This is your underground gate valve. There's a key just inside the south mechanical room hanging up in the unistrut on the right hand side. Open the door. So if you want to shut this underground coming off into this facility, you have to lift this cover out, drop the shaft down, turn it to the right, and it'll shut it off. So you got to make sure that's put back on. This is a loading dock area, so they didn't want to have a PIV right here. So we removed it, made it flush with the ground, and put water cap on top of it. But this location here is approximately 15 feet straight out from the middle of the doors from the south mechanical room door. That's your underground shut-off coming from your underground into your facility on the south wing. Okay, again, we're at the south mechanical room. Due to the fact that we have to drop down to feed the main entrance, the main over here, we had to put a low point drain in. And this is called a drum drip. And once you blow it all out and all the moisture is out, there's a barrel in here behind the wall here. There's a control valve, a plug, a barrel, and a control valve. And this is piped again to the outside of the building. So if you lost the heat, the air compressor went out, whatever, the dry system tripped, somebody opened a valve they shouldn't have, you have to make sure the system's all drained down properly. So this is done by care and maintenance. So at that point, you have to set the system back up, keep working these 2 valves. So you'd have to close this control valve, drain any moisture out that goes down and out, and keep reversing the process until you get all the moisture out of your system. I actually, when I get done, I shut both valves, pull this plug, put glycol in, like a pint of glycol, put the plug back in, dope and tape it back up. Leave the top valve open. That way, if any moisture gets in there, it'll mix with that glycol and it won't freeze. And down and out. So basically on the south system, because the high part of the school here, we had to drop down to feed the canopy. We have trap pipe. For this is very important that this gets drained in case the system went off on the dry. So best thing to do is shut the control valve, open the drain, inspector's test C, open both these valves and blow it all out. Make sure she all gets out. Call immediately, because in cold weather, if you leave the water in there, it'll freeze and break the pipe. So the care and maintenance is by the owner. So you gotta be careful with that, okay?